The bus ride home felt like an eternity, the chatter of my classmates fading into a dull hum as my mind raced. I had just returned from what should have been a fun-filled school trip, but as I stepped through the door of my childhood home, a heavy weight settled in my chest. The familiar scent of my mother's cooking was absent, replaced by a cold, eerie silence that echoed off the walls. I dropped my backpack by the door, the thud sounding louder than expected, and called out, "Mom," no response. My heart raced as I walked down the hallway, each step amplifying the confusion swirling in my mind. When I reached my room, I stopped dead in my tracks. The door was ajar, swinging slightly as if beckoning me closer. I pushed it open, and the sight that met my eyes was nothing short of shocking. My room was completely empty. The walls, once adorned with posters and photographs, were bare, and the furniture that had filled the space was gone. A wave of anger surged through me, hot and suffocating. How could this happen? What had my family done? I stumbled backward, grappling with the reality of the situation. Memories of laughter and late-night conversations flooded my mind, each one tinged with betrayal. Did my family think they could just erase my existence? I felt a lump form in my throat, a mixture of confusion and rage boiling beneath the surface. The silence of the house felt deafening, suffocating, as if it were mocking my despair. As I stood there, my mind raced back to the moments before the trip. I remembered my mother's tight-lipped smiles and vague excuses, her eyes darting away whenever I asked about the state of our home. "It's just a little renovation, Zoe," she had said, her voice laced with an unsettling cheerfulness that did nothing to ease my concerns. Now, standing in the void where my sanctuary once was, I realized that this was not just a simple remodel. It was a betrayal, a secret that had been festering beneath the surface, and I was left in the dark. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. I needed answers, and I was determined to find them. My family's silence would no longer be a barrier. I would uncover the truth behind this shocking revelation, no matter what it took. The stakes were high, and my sense of home was slipping away, but I was ready to confront whatever lay ahead. My journey to unravel the mystery had just begun. The dining room felt suffocating, the air thick with unspoken words and the clinking of forks against plates. I sat at the table, the familiar wooden surface cool beneath my fingers, my heart pounding in my chest as my family gathered for dinner. Each face around the table wore a mask of normalcy, but I could sense the tension simmering just below the surface. My mother, her eyes darting nervously, seemed to be the only one aware of the elephant in the room, the absence of my room and the secrets that hung over us like a storm cloud. As I picked at my food, the conversation flowed around me, a mix of laughter and lighthearted banter. My siblings joked about their day, their voices bright and carefree, while I felt like a shadow at the table. The smell of roasted chicken filled the air, but all I could taste was the bitterness of exclusion. I wanted to join in, to laugh and share, but the weight of my confusion kept me silent. I glanced at my mother, whose gaze was fixed on her plate, as if the food could provide answers to the questions swirling in my mind. "Did you hear about Sarah's project?" my brother asked, eliciting a chorus of laughter. I forced a smile, but inside I was screaming. Why was I left out of their stories? Why did it feel like my life was happening in a different realm, one where I didn't belong? My heart raced as I thought about the confrontation that loomed ahead. I needed to know why my room had vanished, why my mother kept avoiding the truth. After dinner, I retreated to my best friend Lily's house, the familiar scent of her lavender candles soothing my frayed nerves. She listened intently as I recounted the dinner's awkwardness, her eyes wide with concern. "Zoe, it's not just about the room, it's about what's hidden beneath all this. You need to confront her," Lily urged, her voice low and serious. I nodded, feeling the weight of her words settle in my chest. The fear of what I might uncover gnawed at me, but the need for answers was stronger. As I returned home, the shadows in the hallway seemed to stretch longer, deepening my unease. I paused outside my room, the door closed tight, a barrier between me and the truth. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my ears as I prepared for the confrontation that awaited me. I felt the cool metal of the doorknob against my palm, a reminder of the secrets I was about to unveil. The tension within me coiled tighter, and I knew that soon I would have to face whatever lay behind that door, whatever my family had hidden from me for far too long. The air in the house felt heavy as I stood in what used to be my room, now a mere shell of emptiness. My heart raced, pounding against my ribcage as if trying to escape the suffocating reality. The walls, once adorned with my drawings and memories, now stared back at me like a blank canvas, mocking my confusion. I could still smell the faint hint of lavender from my old diffuser, but it was overshadowed by the stale scent of neglect. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms as rage bubbled beneath the surface. How could they do this to me? My legs trembled with pent-up frustration as I replayed the laughter from the family gathering, the joy that rang hollow without my presence. I took a deep breath, striving to quell the storm brewing inside me. I had to confront my mother. It was time to demand answers. With each step toward the living room, my throat tightened, constricting around the words I needed to say. Would she even listen? I recalled moments from my childhood, times when her voice was a soothing balm, but now it felt more like a distant echo. My heart ached with betrayal at the thought that she had allowed this to happen. As I entered the room, my mother was sorting through old family photo albums, her fingers delicately tracing over the glossy edges. The sight struck me like a punch to the gut, a stark reminder of the memories I had been excluded from. I cleared my throat, feeling the weight of the moment hang heavily in the air. "Mom, we need to talk about my room," I said, my voice shaking slightly. She glanced up, her eyes wide with surprise, but there was an undercurrent of defensiveness in her posture. "What about it?" she replied, her tone casual, almost dismissive. I felt a surge of anger at her nonchalance. I needed her to see my pain, to understand the depth of my hurt. "It's gone. Why would you let them take it away?" "Don't I matter?" My voice cracked, and I hated how vulnerable I sounded. Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. She sighed, avoiding my gaze as if the truth was too heavy to bear. "Zoe, it's complicated. You wouldn't understand." Her words sent a chill down my spine, igniting a fire in my chest. Complicated. My life felt like a puzzle with missing pieces, and here she was, refusing to help me find them. I could feel my heart racing, each beat a reminder of the injustice I was facing. "I deserve to know," I pressed, desperation creeping into my voice. The tension in the room crackled like static, a palpable barrier separating us. My mother hesitated, and in that moment I saw a flicker of something: fear, regret, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving me grappling with my unanswered questions. I needed allies in this battle for the truth, but I didn't know where to turn. My world felt like it was unraveling, and I was left standing in the aftermath of my mother's evasiveness, hurt and betrayal clawing at my insides. The silence in my house was deafening, a stark contrast to the chaos of emotions swirling inside me. The empty spaces seemed to echo my feelings of abandonment, each corner of the room a reminder of my fractured connections. As I paced the floor, the wooden boards creaked beneath my feet, adding to the weight of the moment. I could almost smell the dust of forgotten memories clinging to the air, a pungent reminder of things left unsaid. I grasped a nearby chair, its cool metal frame grounding me momentarily, yet it did little to quell the tempest raging within. My phone buzzed incessantly, and I glanced at the screen, seeing Lily's name flash across it. I hesitated, a swell of anxiety gripping my heart. Each message was a lifeline, but also a reminder of how alone I felt. I thought back to the last time we had talked, her laughter a soothing balm on the wounds of my resentment. I remembered how we had pieced together plans for the day, her enthusiasm a far cry from the desolation I now felt. But would she understand the depth of my pain? I bit my lip, trying to suppress the emotion that threatened to spill over. "Zoe, are you okay?" Lily's voice came through the phone, light yet filled with concern. It felt good to hear her, the warmth of her words wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. "I'm here for you, just say the word." I took a deep breath, considering her offer. Part of me longed to confide in her, to share the turmoil that churned inside me, but another part hesitated, afraid of burdening her with my family's chaos. "I don't know, Lil, it's complicated. My mom, she just won't talk. It's like she's built this wall I can't get through." "You deserve answers, Zoe. You can't just keep this bottled up inside." "You need to confront her," Lily insisted, her voice steady yet encouraging. The sincerity in her tone sent a ripple of warmth through me, igniting a flicker of hope. I wanted to believe that I could bridge the chasm that had formed between my mother and me, but the fear of rejection loomed large. Would I be met with coldness again, or would she finally see me? The tension in my chest tightened as I thought of the dinner, the looming confrontation that felt like standing on the edge of a precipice. I envisioned myself speaking, my words pouring out like a dam bursting, but would it lead to the reconciliation I craved? Or would it push her further away? My mind raced with possibilities, each scenario darker than the last. As I leaned against the wall, I felt the cool surface against my back grounding me, urging me to find my resolve. "You're right," I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I can't keep living like this. I need to speak up, even if it terrifies me. I need to know if she can hear me." Lily's voice brightened, a beacon in my uncertainty. "You'll never know unless you try, Zoe. I'll be with you every step of the way. Just remember, your feelings are valid, you matter." With those words, I felt a surge of determination course through me. I wasn't just another shadow in my family's dynamic. I was a force to be reckoned with. I would confront my mother, and whatever the outcome, I would stand tall, ready to face the truth. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but I was no longer willing to remain silent. I was prepared to fight for my voice, to reclaim my place in the family I yearned for. The faint glow from my desk lamp painted the walls of my room a soft yellow, casting shadows that danced with the flickering light. I sat hunched over my laptop, the cool metal pressing against my palms, the hum of the fan barely audible over the chaotic thoughts racing through my mind. The air was thick with the scent of old books and dust, a reminder of the secrets hidden within the pages I was now desperately flipping through. My heart raced in anticipation, each click of the keyboard echoing like a countdown to the confrontation I knew awaited me. As I searched for any hint of my family's past, I felt a mix of hope and trepidation. What would I uncover? Would it explain the void that had grown between my mother and me? I recalled the moments spent poring over family albums, memories that seemed to belong to someone else, and the longing to piece together the fragments of a history that felt incomplete. The words on the screen blurred as I fought to focus, the weight of my unresolved feelings pressing heavily on my chest. "Zoe, are you okay?" Alex's voice broke through my concentration, his concern palpable as he leaned against the doorframe. The sight of him sent a rush of warmth through me, a reminder that I wasn't entirely alone in this battle. "You've been at this for hours. Maybe take a break." I glanced up, meeting his gaze, and for a moment I felt the tension ease. "I can't, Alex. I need to know the truth. I can't keep pretending everything is fine, not when it feels like my entire life is unraveling." His expression softened, and he stepped further into the room, his presence a steady anchor amidst the storm. "I get that, but you also need to take care of yourself. You can't fight this battle on empty. What if you just talk to your mom?" The thought made my stomach churn. I wasn't ready to face her, not yet. Instead, I turned back to the screen, the search bar filled with names and dates, hoping to unearth something that would provide clarity. I needed to find answers, not only for myself, but for the bond I desperately wanted to restore with my family. "You know, you're stronger than you think," Alex added quietly, his words wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. The warmth of his encouragement ignited a flicker of determination within. I could do this. I could face the truth, even if it was painful. Later, I met Lily at our favorite cafe, the air filled with the rich aroma of coffee and the sound of laughter. "Zoe," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Tell me everything," I sighed, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. "I'm trying to figure out my family's secrets, but it's like digging through a minefield. I don't even know where to start, and I'm terrified of what I might find." Lily's expression shifted to one of empathy. "Whatever you find, you'll handle it. You're not alone in this, okay? I'll be right here with you." Her support bolstered my resolve, and for the first time in days, I felt a glimmer of hope. I was determined to uncover the truth about my family, to learn what lay beneath the surface of our fractured relationships. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but with Alex and Lily by my side, I felt ready to embark on this journey toward peace and understanding. As I sifted through the dusty boxes in the attic, an unsettling mix of anticipation and dread coursed through me. The air was thick with the musty scent of forgotten memories, and beams of sunlight filtered through the small window, illuminating motes of dust that danced like lost souls. I lifted the lid of a particularly weathered box, its rough texture scraping against my fingertips, and felt my heart quicken. Inside, I found old photographs, crumpled letters, and most importantly, documents that seemed to hold the key to my family's secrets. My breath caught in my throat as I unfolded a yellowed piece of paper, the handwriting familiar yet chilling. It was a letter addressed to my mother, detailing plans I had never known about. My hands trembled as I read the words, each line unraveling a thread of betrayal. It spoke of decisions made in silence, of a family bond twisted by lies and unspoken grievances. The realization hit me like a thunderclap. Everything I had suspected was true. My family had been hiding the truth from me, manipulating the narrative to protect their secrets at my expense. I felt a rush of adrenaline as clarity washed over me, igniting a fire within. This wasn't just about my missing room anymore. It was about justice for all the times I had been sidelined, all the moments of silence that should have been filled with my voice. I could no longer stand by. The weight of the discovery was heavy on my chest, but it also felt liberating. I straightened my back, determination surging through me. In that dusty attic, surrounded by remnants of a past I couldn't fully understand, I made a vow to confront my mother, to demand answers, and to reclaim my place in this fractured family. The confrontation I had dreaded for so long was now a necessity. I would lay bare the truths I had uncovered. As I clutched the letter tightly, I could almost hear my mother's voice, filled with denial, but I was ready. Ready to challenge her, ready to fight for my right to be seen. This was the moment I had been waiting for, the moment that would change everything. The dim light of my room cast long shadows as I sat on my bed, a world of thoughts swirling in my head. My notebook lay open in front of me, pages filled with frantic scribbles that mirrored the chaos inside my mind. The faint smell of lavender from my diffuser mixed awkwardly with the scent of old books, a reminder of the comfort I used to find in this space. But tonight, it felt more like a prison, closing in on me as I tried to strategize my confrontation with my mother. I bit my lip, the metallic taste of anxiety coating my tongue as I considered the words I wanted to say. I had to be strong to stand my ground, and yet the fear of her reaction gripped me tightly. My fingers drummed against the notebook's cover, each tap a rhythm of my racing heart. What if she dismissed my feelings again? I could hear her voice echoing in my head, filled with the same dismissive tone that had silenced me for too long. "You're overreacting, Zoe. It's not that big of a deal." My mind flashed back to the family dinner, the laughter that had felt like daggers during the slideshow moment. The images of my siblings enjoying their lives without me had carved a deep wound, and I was determined to address it head-on. I needed a plan that was simple yet impactful, a way to convey the depth of my hurt without complicating it with anger. Just then, my best friend Lily knocked gently on the door, peeking her head in. Her warm smile was a comfort amidst my storm. "Hey, I brought snacks. I thought we could brainstorm together." I motioned her in, grateful for her presence. As she settled next to me, I felt a surge of determination. I want to confront my mom about everything, but I need to make sure I don't just explode with anger. I want her to understand how much this has hurt me. Lily nodded, her eyes wide with encouragement. "Let's write down key points. What do you really want her to know? What do you need from her?" With her help, we began jotting down my thoughts. As I spoke, clarity started to emerge from the fog of emotion. I wanted her to acknowledge my pain, to validate my feelings, and above all, I needed her to see me for who I truly was. Each word felt like a step toward reclaiming my narrative, a way to break the cycle of silence that had kept me from truly belonging. I could feel the resolve building within me, stronger than ever. I wasn't just going to confront my mother, I was going to demand the recognition I deserved. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my fears begin to lift. Together, we would craft something powerful, something that would resonate and perhaps even spark the change I yearned for. As we finished outlining my approach, I felt a sense of bravery wash over me. This was my moment of reclaiming my voice, and I would not back down. The heavy air in the cramped living room weighed down on me as I stood facing my mother, the silence stretching taut between us like a fraying thread. The walls, once my sanctuary, now felt like they were closing in, echoes of our past failures reverberating in my mind. I could hear my heart thundering in my chest, each beat a reminder of the courage I needed to summon. The smell of burnt coffee lingered, mingling with the distant noise of my siblings in the background, oblivious to the storm brewing in our midst. "You have to understand how I feel," I shouted, my voice cracking with emotion. "It's like I don't even exist in this family. You never even acknowledged my pain." My body trembled with the weight of the words I had been holding back for so long. Anger surged through me, fueled by years of feeling overlooked and unimportant. I could see the flicker of surprise in my mother's eyes, but I needed more than that. I needed her to hear me. "Zoe, I never meant to," she started, but I cut her off, the frustration boiling over. "That's just it. You never meant to, but it happened anyway. You've kept me in the shadows while you celebrate everyone else." My breath came in quick bursts, anxiety clawing at my throat as I fought to keep control. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, a testament to my mounting rage. "You don't understand the pressures I face, the decisions I had to make," she retorted, her own voice rising defensively. It was as if she was bracing herself for an attack, the tension in her shoulders taut like a drawn bowstring. I had never seen her so defensive, and it only fueled my determination. "Then let me in," I cried, my voice trembling with intensity. "Stop hiding behind your excuses. I deserve to be part of this family." I could feel the tears brimming in my eyes, threatening to spill over, but I fought them back. This was my moment, the culmination of all my hurt and confusion, and I would not let it be diminished by tears. The silence that followed my outburst felt electric, charged with unspoken emotions. My siblings paused their conversations, the tension in the room palpable as they turned their attention to us. In that moment, I caught a glimpse of their faces, shock, confusion, and a hint of concern. My mother's lips tightened, the fight dissipating momentarily as she processed my words. I could see the walls she had built around herself beginning to crack, and for the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, this confrontation would lead to something real. As the room held its breath, I took a step closer, my voice softer but resolute. "I just want to be seen, to be heard. Is that too much to ask?" The vulnerability in my tone hung heavily in the air, a stark contrast to the anger that had preceded it. I was ready to fight for my place in this family, ready to confront the truth that had long been hidden beneath layers of silence and denial. And as I stood there, heart racing and breath hitching, I knew that whatever happened next would change everything. The atmosphere in our home was laced with uncertainty, each room echoing the remnants of our recent confrontation. I sat curled up in my room, the sunlight filtering through the curtains, casting soft shadows that danced on the walls. The air was thick with unspoken words, a stark contrast to the warmth I once felt in this space. I picked up my journal, the pages filled with the raw emotions I had poured out over the past few weeks, and felt a bittersweet ache in my chest. My heart was heavy with the weight of our unresolved issues, yet there was a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. As I penned my thoughts, I reflected on the conversations we had, the pain laid bare around the dining table. My mother's eyes had softened, revealing a glimpse of vulnerability that I had never noticed before. It struck me that perhaps she had been as lost in her own struggles as I had been in mine. Each word exchanged had been a step toward healing, albeit a small one. I felt a surge of determination to not let that moment fade into silence again. I needed to nurture this new understanding, to keep the lines of communication open. The next few days were filled with tentative steps toward rebuilding our family dynamics. My siblings began to include me in their conversations more, and I could sense a shift in the air, a willingness to engage, to understand. I caught glimpses of my mother's efforts to bridge the gap, her attempts to reach out through small gestures, like sending me a text asking about my day. It was a stark contrast to the distance that had once defined our relationship. I often found myself smiling at the thought of our gradual reconnection, a warmth blooming in my chest where there had once been only coldness. Yet I was acutely aware that this journey was far from over. I still felt the lingering shadows of past hurts, the scars that would take time to heal. I knew that our family's path to recovery would require patience and vulnerability from all of us. I had to remind myself that growth is not linear. It ebbs and flows like the tide. There would be setbacks, but I was prepared to face them head-on, armed with the knowledge that I was not alone in this fight for our family's unity. As I closed my journal, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. I was learning to accept the complexities of my family, to embrace the messiness of our relationships. The road ahead would be challenging, but I was determined to walk it with grace and courage, ready to navigate the twists and turns that lay ahead. My heart swelled with a newfound sense of hope, a belief that we could emerge from this stronger and more connected than ever before. I was ready to take on whatever came next, knowing that together we would find our way back to each other, one step at a time. As I stood in my once empty room, now transformed into a sanctuary of hope and warmth, I reflected on the tumultuous journey that had led me here. The walls, adorned with memories captured in photographs, whispered tales of laughter and love that had long been overshadowed by silence and resentment. I could still feel the weight of the confrontation with my mother lingering in the air, but instead of pain, it had evolved into a catalyst for change. Each breath I took was a reminder of the resilience that coursed through me, a newfound courage to embrace my truth and share my story. The sunlight filtered through the window, casting a golden hue across the room, and I felt a sense of peace settling in my heart. I had learned that family dynamics could be messy and complicated, yet the willingness to confront those complexities was the first step toward healing. I thought of my siblings, their faces now etched in my memory, no longer as strangers but as allies in this journey of understanding. Together, we had